Well, in one way or another, we have all felt the heavy weight of this pandemic. It has touched every corner of society, especially the most vulnerable among us, including youth. The repeated lockdowns, school closures, and overall anxiety around the virus is translating to real mental health problems for young people. Well, that is why the Toronto Youth Cabinet is calling on the province to provide youth with mental health sick days as one way to cope. Joining us now with more is Executive Director of the Toronto Youth Cabinet, Stephen Mensah. We appreciate this, sir. Thank you so much. Lots to get to. I brought up one of the ideas in terms of a solution, or at least to mitigate the problem. But this all emerged out of a survey that you did with many youth. Talk about that and what you found in terms of the overall problem and the state of their mental health. What did you find?
Well, thank you for having me, Anthony. And as you said it best, so we surveyed students across Ontario, over 1,000 students, on the state of their mental health, to hear from them on solutions that they think need to be done by school boards and the government. And so what we heard from them was simply there was a lot of anxiety, there was a lot of depression that young people were facing. About 56% of students said that they face anxiety. Then 30% of students said that they face depression as a prevalent mental health issue. And those students highlighted the need that they need more supports. In our survey, students spoke to the tremendous barriers that exist in respect to accessing mental health supports in their schools as well. And so, we also asked them about some solutions on what they think needs to be done. And we saw that 94% of students support mental health literacy in the curriculum, and 98% of students said that we need mandatory mental health training for all school staff. So overall, with the high stress levels that students are facing, we made sure we got that information from what they need to what they feel needs to be done from their school and government.
All right, let's begin with the sick days. How exactly would that work?
Yeah, so the Toronto Youth Cabinet is calling for mental health days for students in the province and for the government to include it as an excused absence in the Education Act. And I'm going further to say that any student who chooses to take those days should not have to provide a doctor's note, because we believe that financial barriers and not having the luxury of money should not be a barrier or an impediment to access in these mental health days. So how would it work? Simply a student would have a set number of days that they can take throughout, whether it's a semester or a school year, and just for their mental health. And I think it's so important because, once again, it's going to emphasize the importance of self-care and show that young people need to prioritize their mental health, as well as it will go further to destigmatize the issue of mental health and hopefully normalize conversations among students, parents, and teachers alike, because we know how stigmatized mental health is in society and amongst young people themselves.
No, I think you may have answered my next question in regards to the number of days. And it kind of leads to whether this could be abused. And you mentioned that there would be a set number of days, or at least that is the proposal. Is that really the idea behind this? Because, people say, okay, this is an important issue. You highlight how important it is. We all know how important mental health is, especially with young people, especially now. But we were talking about 5 days, 3 days. How would that work?
Yeah. So in respects to a set number of days, on our end, we don't want to put out a number, but we do want to have that conversation with government and school boards. If you look at different jurisdictions in the United States, like Illinois and Oregon, they have 5 mental health days for their students, some per year, some 5 per semester. So whatever we feel like is needed in respects to our reality here in Ontario, we just got to make sure we do that and support our students that way. And I think you might speak to the fact that students might abuse in such an availability of these days. And on our end, we trust that school boards have a process in place to mitigate student absenteeism. And I think, just to go further, if a student feels the need to take these days to skip out on school, it raises a question of a larger issue as to why they have to skip out on school in the first place. So I think we got to start asking ourselves about that too.
Look, I wish we had more time, but obviously it highlights the lack of supports that exist in the educational system and really in the province overall. Are you optimistic that the school boards, that the government will listen? We have about 10 seconds.
I am optimistic. We were able to bring out these recommendations to the minister, and he seemed to be willing, and he knew that right now was the time to take action to address the mental health crisis. So I'm optimistic.
Stephen Mensah with the Toronto Youth Cabinet. Thank you, sir. We appreciate this.
Thank you, Anthony.